company until 9 o'clock this morning. Take a look at what's happening traffic wise. You got traffic from Trinidad City towards Macoya, and then heavier heading towards UE. And then your traffic starts getting in a Port of Spain, a little volume as you go through Aranguez. All right. Head down San Fernando, see what's happening there. Nothing to tell you about. Solo is clear. Rivulet Road is clear. You'll get some traffic from Charleville heading towards Caroni, and that's pretty much it. Nothing on the Eastern Main Road to tell you about. All right, so there you go. Well, let's see who's on this hellos first thing this morning. First off the gate, we've got Ken E. Good morning to you, Kenny, followed by Trev in Arima, Garcilli in Valencia, Maria Marva, DJ Ray out in Delaware. D. Pierre, good morning, Ms. Maloney. Dennis, it's terrific Thursday, everybody. Carol here. Yep, Carol Guevara is in. Miss Ingrid. Ray out in West Palm Beach, Florida. Good morning. Rena Budu Jennings. Big Guy out in New York. Good morning to you as well. Check in some of your temps. Toronto, you're at 3 degrees with some sun. Miami, 23. Orlando, 22. New York, you're sitting at 7. Atlanta, 18. London, 16 and sunny. Tampa, you're at 23. Washington, D.C., you're at 8. It is 25 degrees at Piarco International Airport, 24 at Crown Point in Tobago. And what's the weather going to be like for TNT today? Well, generally fair, hazy, and breezy, but with some partly cloudy patches producing isolated showers by late morning into afternoon. There's a low chance, 10 to 20%, they're saying, of a heavier shower favoring hilly areas and southern and western areas of Trinidad. There is a mild, occasionally moderate concentration of Sahara dust present in our atmosphere. All right, so there you go. That's weather for TNT. All right. So let me say good morning, good out to you, Paul Richards. What's happening?
Morning, Steve. Morning, everyone.
Morning, Paul. What's going on? What's going on?
Well, a lot, as usual in Trinidad and Tobago.
Yeah, this place just can't settle down, boy. It just can't settle down. I'm driving in this morning. I see police pull across a car on Independence Square. And, of course, they came out in their garb and told him to put his hands on top of the car. But I don't know. I said, okay. I just came to work. I see you making the rounds in the news circle, my friend.
Don't I look pretty?
Or
handsome or whatever.
Yeah, we'll go with that. We'll leave that one alone. We'll leave that one alone. Yeah, well, I see you had a convo with the commissioner of
police. Her report wasn't so excellent, I'll tell you that.
Is what, sorry?
Her report on crime situation wasn't so excellent.
And to get extended for another year.
Well, the extension to me,
I saw it this morning. I watched news this morning, and I said,
I don't think it's fair for anyone to think that Mrs. Howard Christopher could have made a difference in 6 months, given what we've experienced in the last 20 years. I don't think she's God. And if we had to be fair and expect a massive reduction in crime in 6 months, I think that is being irrational and unreasonable.
Mm-hmm.
In the same way, I don't think she should give herself an excellent rating either, because the performance of the police service is not excellent, and she heads the police service.
Mm-hmm.
So about the extension which you referenced, she should have gotten an extension because she just was in office for a couple of months.
Okay, we'll go with that.
And her birthday came, and the extension was premised on the fact that she would have had to retire at 60 when her birthday came.
Mm-hmm.
And the extension was predicted and referenced by the Prime Minister when she was installed in the Parliament. So it was always going to come generally, unless she did something catastrophically bad. So the extension is understandable. to give her time to show some results. And 6 months is not enough time to show results. But as I said, at the same time, don't give yourself an excellent rating. You're opening yourself to a lot of fire, which you have gotten. And I got a document. I think I shared it with you last week, but I shared it with the committee yesterday. Some projections that Mrs. Harewood Christopher had indicated in a presentation, a document I got, and I shared it with the committee yesterday. And I read out some of the projections, and I asked if she was on track or the police service was on track to achieve those, and they weren't. If they were 10, they were on track for about 3 or 4. And the major ones were actually going in the wrong direction, including murders, which have increased by 10%. You know, she said that.
Did I hear? Go ahead.
And the targets were for the end of December 31st, 2023. But if you are to achieve the targets by the end of December 2023, it means that you're supposed to be trending in a particular direction, even if not having attained, you understand, the targets that you set for yourself. You're supposed to be trending downward. And in some of the metrics, she's trending upward. For example, 10% hike in murders. For the 20% reduction in murders, they were not able to challenge. They have a 10% increase. She said we have a 20% reduction in violent crimes. The target is 20% reduction in target. Right now they're at 15%. So the murder figure for the country so far, according to the Guardian, is 229. Right? So a 10% reduction in the last year of motor vehicles. They have not been successful. They have a 1% decrease, a 5% reduction in fatal road traffic accidents. They have a 15% reduction. A 30% reduction in murders. They have a 10% increase. So, and they're at an overall 12% detection rate. So, I don't know that those are excellent results.
Yeah.
You understand? So when and people keep talking this foolishness, but she was joking, and in a light environment in the police force. You're the commissioner of police, and when asked a question about crime and police performance and your performance, you have to take it very, very seriously, because people are under siege, and no one who has been a victim of crime of any kind in Trinidad and Tobago thinks any question in crime and police performance is to be taken as a joke or in a light manner. You just can't.
Did I hear you correctly? Did I hear her correctly when she said that home invasions are down?
Yeah, well, I asked her if they're down because of what we're hearing in the news.
You
And
asked. Yes.
She said they're down compared to last year. They're lower than last year. But as I just told Jaron, if you see, statistics is something you could use to your advantage if you know about statistics. If we said for a comparative period, month and month, but that wasn't the specific question.
Yeah.
So if you take the number of home invasions that happened for the first 5 months of this year, and you compare it to the whole of last year, you may have you may interpret that as a reduction or a lower rate of home invasions. You understand? If you take it month on month, or if you look at a trend for the months of March, April, May, you may have a different picture statistically. You understand? So you have to take statistics with a pinch of salt and understanding the context and the parameters within which you're operating with statistics. Otherwise, it's easy to say, well, I have a reduction over the year, and when we've heard past commissioners touting about it. But if you don't drill down into the numbers, you won't get the true picture where statistical presentations are being made. But I also asked about the Brent Thomas report specifically, because we were all very surprised about the oral report presented to the Minister of National Security. And she did say a report is being compiled, a documented report, and I pressed further and asked, is there a timeline? And she said that will be delivered in 2 weeks. So Dr. Rudal Monindal, who was also on the committee, asked if she was aware or gave the instructions to the officers to go to Barbados. And she kind of deflected on that question and didn't really answer it directly.
Well, that would have been a yes or no.
Well,
one would think.
I prefer not to comment as an answer also. Like, I can't comment on it while the investigation is ongoing as an answer. which is an answer that you could expect, because if you don't ask a really specific question, understanding that could be the answer, you're going to get a deflective answer. But we got a lot out of her, I will say. And as I said before, I don't think the report card so far is pointing to excellent performance.
No, it's not. From what
And I don't
heard
think, based on the trends, particularly the murder rate increasing by 10%, that Mrs. Harewood Christopher and the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, because she's not doing it by herself, is going to achieve the reduction at the end of June, which is her first statement to the media. Well, to Senator Jayanti Lakshmi when asked on her first appearance, they're not going to achieve that. And I don't think it is any surprise to anybody, given what we're seeing so far.
Yeah, it's, like a friend of mine is here for a week from Toronto.
Be careful.
Yeah, they're paranoid.
They should be.
They're paranoid. I mean, he hasn't been here. They have not been here in like 15 years.
Yeah, so they don't understand what being in this environment is like now at all. Reading it and being it is something totally different.
So he wanted, to begin with, he told me he wanted to come down. I said, all right. I said, are you staying with my family or what you doing? He said, no, he's going to stay at a hotel. I said, well, okay. And he booked a hotel. I said, which hotel you booked? He said, Hyatt. I said, why Hyatt? He said, because it's safe.
Yeah, you feel safer at Hyatt. I can imagine that.
Because
so you're walking right out into downtown Port of Spain, and
you're
not walking through any dark streets or any alleys, and you could actually walk straight out onto Rice Road and walk straight down to the promenade.
Exactly.
Within particular hours.
So then
within specific hours.
So then he said, well, he wanted, it's his birthday on Friday. And, he said he wanted to go out and he's thinking of going out. But he's asking me these places. And then he said, you know what? I think I'll just stay at the hotel. Come meet me at the hotel. We'll have a
No. You could take him to one of the nice restaurants.
Yeah, he doesn't want to go. He wouldn't go for drinks. He doesn't want to go to a restaurant.
Well, you could go. There
are a lot of places.
You could go to Trotters. You could go to a myriad of restaurants and be safe.
Passage to Asia.
Town, Jenny's. There are a number of places you could go. And even in Central and South Trinidad.
Yeah.
You understand? Carver, there's several places you can go and be safe and feel relatively safe.
I told him that. I said, there's some places you can go, He said, listen. He said, no, I will just stay at the hotel.
That doesn't make any sense.
He finds everybody drives crazy. I say, I will drive, but he wants.
But then you pick him up and take him around. Don't let him stay at a hotel for the whole stay here. That doesn't make no sense.
We'll talk again today. And
you can stay at a hotel anywhere in the world.
Yeah. We're going to go out somewhere. I don't know where. I don't know where, so we'll wiggle him to go.
You can take him to see the little piggy some night. The little piggy that got tired. I think it's on again this weekend.
Yeah,
there are things you can go to and enjoy.
Yeah, I'll wiggle him, but he and his wife are very paranoid.
I can imagine.
They passed through Sangre Grande. They went to Mayaro yesterday for a drive.
But then they're clearly not staying home.
And he said they were passing through Sangre Grande, and there was so much police. And they passed by a grocery, but clearly something went on by the grocery because there were 6 police cars and police directing traffic. That's why I didn't hear of anything. So, but he's, at that point he said he just wanted to turn around. But his wife told him, no, let's go. And so they went. Yeah, he's a bit
I also asked the commissioner about body cams. That's our favorite topic.
Oh, yes. Let's hear about this, Paul.
Because the commissioner spoke about technology and the use of technology. Keep in mind that the databases are not digitized fully yet. She kind of sit at her desk and put up a case file now, but they're talking about technology. But she did say that they're working with the U.S. Embassy to digitize all the files in the police service in 2023. Go figure. But I asked specifically about body cams and what's his name? I think acting DCP Francis, and I said, well, I haven't seen one officer with a body cam on him anecdotally moving. I haven't seen any officers with body cam. And the police have said they're 1,200 body cams, and I asked if they were being used consistently. And DCP Francis said that they were, and he could vouch for that because he gets reports. But anyone who's listening or has a family member, please let us know if you've seen any officers with body cams.
I've seen one. He wears it all the time. Brett Batson.
That's true. But Brett is different. Brett is
Yeah.
traffic.
Brett is traffic. But
That is true. Brett Batson wears his body
what
cam all
year
the
we
time.
in?
But
AI is
I've
now
seen
making
him.
a
I've
big
seen him
thing
on
now.
pictures. I haven't seen him on the road with it.
I saw him on the road. I saw him 2 weeks ago as I was off the highway getting in the Curep. He was on the side, and I just pulled up and said, "Hey, big man, long time no see." And he was wearing it. I told him,
But
I can stay here and talk for hours. Nobody gonna
Brett
put
is a
me down.
different. He's a different kind of officer. So
Yeah, but
I would expect
I've
Brett to be more somebody who is about transparency and accountability because he's always displayed those qualities.
yeah,
I ain't so sure about others,
I have
but I
not
have
seen
not
any
seen
of it.
officers on the road wearing any body cam. I just have not. Maybe they do according to DCP
Hmm.
Francis, but I have not seen it. So, but
Yeah,
maybe I go in the wrong places.
no, I have not seen it. I have not seen anybody wearing it. I've seen the body cams. I've held a body cam, but I've not seen it being worn. Um, and what's the funny thing about this, Paul? Is a camera. It's not rocket science. You put it
But
on in
Steve,
uniform.
it's not a matter of, in my opinion, it's not a matter of whether or not it's a difficult thing to operate. It's a matter of whether they want to wait for the
That's
accountability.
it.
It's not about rocket science, it's about whether they want or have the will or are being, or there's a mandate that is being enforced by the police leadership. That's what it's
Yeah,
about. It's not
yeah.
about whether or not it's a
I
rocket
think that
science or.
it's a simple
Mhm.
thing. Going to school, you're required to have a pen. So you leave to go to school with pens. A simple thing like that from
But
primary
you would
school.
imagine it would be at that stage now, eh? You would hope
You
it would
would.
be at that stage now.
That's my point. You're going to work. You have to put the body
But
cam.
that's where an enforced policy comes in, and if you're not wearing it, there are consequences. But if the police leadership, which in my opinion, I'm saying in my opinion, doesn't seem to think it's a critical or there's a resistance system, put it that way.
Hmm.
You're not going to have officers because officers will say that, well, we don't have to wear it because there's no consequence to us not wearing it. Or
Hmm.
trying to spell shooting here now, he's spelling an obscene word. Yeah.
I want to say
They're
something there,
not
but
going to wear it because it's not a mandate and there's no consequence for not wearing it.
that's it.
So
Same as the police vehicles. They can dent up and mash up the vehicles and
a lot of questions
no
were about the
consequence.
police assets and stuff, and Senator Rishi Sukla asked about the complement of police cars. I think they said that 1,500, the full amount should be 2,000, and the answers about the care of police cars and who was taking care of the police cars and whether there was an audit being done is very nebulous also. Very, very nebulous. So,
Seems like we have a
I
very
don't know.
vague police service.
Well, they have a lot of work to do.
That's
Um,
tons of work to do.
did you see? Let me turn on the volume because I don't want the volume to go up on this. The videos about the alleged police shooting
Is that the
that
videos you sent
occurred
me?
about 2 nights ago. Well, I put it in the news group, and let's just. I hope there's no noise.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Dan Kelly.
Yeah.
Apparently, there was a police involved shooting. I don't have any details about it,
Whoa.
but I read
I
it
hear
started being
gunshot.
circulated yesterday. Apparently, there were 3 men involved, and 2 may have died.
That sounds
But
like Baghdad.
as I said, isn't that scary? There's another video from that, which from another angle, which we can share.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, but I haven't heard a lot more about it in recent times. I saw a news report, but I haven't got a lot of information about it. I haven't seen a police report about it or police commenting on it.
Listen to that. Listen to that. Let's
So,
listen.
now imagine this is Trinidad and Tobago.
That sounds like Baghdad.
It's not like the most disturbing thing you can think of. Yeah, it is very. This is the other angle.
Right. Yes, man.
And those are people with
I don't know which one is the
uniform.
police there, though. Listen to that.
Isn't that like bizarre? And this man just standing up there.
That is something. Ray, Carol Guevara, Ingrid
I don't
Adams.
know. I
Good
don't know
morning
what you're
to you.
supposed to think when you see and hear stuff like that. I mean,
Exactly.
you were talking about your friends who came in after 15 years earlier on, and when they see videos like that on social media, and people who live outside this country see stuff like that on social media, the sense is you get that it's all over, and though it may have been a localized thing, you don't, people who are outside or and even people who live here don't separate it because you think it can happen anywhere when you're moving about. And those, when I saw, they sent chills down my spine. Chills. Absolute chills. It's so scary.
I don't. If anyone wants to watch that JSE from yesterday, is it on? It's on the Parliament channel. It's on YouTube.
It's on YouTube, yes.
It's on YouTube. Okay.
It's on YouTube. We
Yeah.
also had,
I'm trying to pull up another chat here. There's another chat of my friend, and she wants to come down to Trinidad for a vacation. She hasn't been here in ages, but is a bit paranoid.
we also interviewed the permanent secretary and officials in the Ministry of National Security yesterday.
Uh-huh.
And I don't know, what do I say? And remain diplomatically correct.
I'm leaving that one up to
Let's
you.
just say I wasn't impressed. Because the Ministry of National Security has so many agencies on its remit, including the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, the TT Defense Force, the Coast Guard, the Forensic Sciences Center, prisons, fire services, rehabilitation programs, and several NGO programs, outreach programs like Citizen Security. And the impression I got, this is me, I could be wrong, is that it's the ministry, because of how much money passes through that ministry, because the ministry is really central funding conduit for all those agencies. And they fall under the Ministry of National Security, and they either get the largest allocation in the budget or the second largest allocation in the budget every year. The largest and second largest toggle between education and national security every year. And you have to ask yourself, if when we spend $6 and $7 and $5 billion annually, and then they come and ask for more because they asked for more last week and earlier this week in the House and the Senate, $100,000 more for police vehicles, $100 million more for police vehicles, $128 million more for the Ministry of National Security under several heads. And you have to ask, is the population seeing the impact of that spend? The positive impact of that spend when you're spending that much money every year? You feel that you feel safer with that kind of money spending? That's the question. Or are we moving toward a safer country? And it just seemed to me like the ministry is not coordinating the efforts or doing the kind of monitoring of effectiveness of the different agencies that they can report to the line minister to report to the cabinet effectively with some sort of valid report information. It's like the PS said yesterday that because Richie Sukai, Senator Sukai, or Minister Sukai, I should say, asked about collaboration with the chambers of commerce. And the
Which he
PS
was
said,
part
well,
of at one point.
that's a great idea. We'll pursue that. You now realize that's a great idea. Somebody had to suggest to the PS that, or the ministry that it's a good idea to collaborate with critical stakeholders like chambers of commerce, and that they saw some ideas in the crime symposium that they're going to implement. I don't know, like they don't sit down and talk and brainstorm and do their job and collaborate and do performance assessment and monitoring and stuff like that. At that level, they don't. Is it just me, or are they operating suboptimally? Because everybody going to get a salary no matter what at that level. No matter what they do, they're going to get a salary. They walk into the office, spend some hours, and go home. And they don't seem to. They probably you don't have to perform.
Apart from that question regarding the symposium, was it brought up again at any point? Was anything
What's that?
taken away? Can anything be added into our situation from the crime symposium, or it was just a symposium and everything went out the door?
No, I just use that as an example of
No, but during the GSC, did that come up at all or no?
what the crime symposium. Yes, and I think the police service, the TG Police Service, is hosting. I think when is the 22nd next week?
Monday.
A conference, a regional conference, where our commissioner, Mrs. Hayward Christopher, is hosting commissioners from across the region to exchange ideas on crime fighting, because a lot of the regional jurisdictions are facing many of the same problems. Maybe not as intense as Trinidad and Tobago.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's back to move now. It wasn't moving this morning. Sorry. So I was shocked that the PS National Security had to come to a JSC to be regaled with an idea to collaborate with chambers of commerce, in particular to get persons who've served time in prison jobs under certain criteria. So I just didn't leave that second meeting, because we spent all day in that JSC yesterday. First was the Commissioner of Police, and then the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of National Security. I left feeling very demoralized. Good morning, Mr. Ragobarsingh.
Richard Rich.
All right, good morning, guys. Good morning, listeners, wherever you are, Trinidad and Tobago and elsewhere. So I thought you were going to say that you left that meeting feeling drained. But
I was trained also. I was by 4:30. I was just like feeling to roll off the chair and lie down on the ground and curl up and sleep.
We needed like since 10 o'clock in the morning.
We started at 10. We took a 20-minute break in between to have some lunch, because the meeting with the commissioner went over. And an hour and a half is not enough to interview a commissioner on a team, right? And to her credit, she left another meeting which she was hosting to come. So we have to give her credit, because she made a point of coming. So I just want to put that on the record, that she actually made a point of coming to the meeting, which is admirable, and facing the fire, so to speak. And then we had a 20-minute break. And then we had the Ministry of National Security, PSN officials who acting. And I just left feeling exhausted and drained and demoralized.
Well, I know you would have mentioned it a little bit before I came in, but what caused you to be demoralized? Demoralized is a strong adjective in terms of,
in particular from the officials in the Ministry of National Security, because I don't get that they understand their role. I ask if there's any policy, because of the number of agencies under the remit of the Ministry of National Security: police, fire, Coast Guard, Defense Force, prisons. They perform a critical function in monitoring and evaluating the effectiveness of each of the agencies, and in some way coordinating, you understand, effectiveness, because they really are the ministry through whom the money goes, right? Mm-hmm. So they're the gatekeeper in a sort of way to the public person, whether or not the money that is being spent and expended on a lot of hardware and a lot of software and a lot of manpower is being effectively used. And I don't get that they're doing that. They don't have a formal policy running the ministry. Specific question: do you have a formal policy? No formal policy. So then how are you operating? What's guiding your decisions on a day-to-day basis strategically? If you do have an overriding policy about that feeds into your main objectives of the ministry, which is national security.
Yeah, I get you.
Yeah, it's very, and at that level, I would imagine you operating at in a particular piece of understanding management and oversight in particular. 'Cause oversight is one of the main functions of a PS/ministries. Am I wrong? You work in state.
Yeah. No, you're right.
So if you're not monitoring each of the divisions under your charge and saying, well, these are the targets. One of the officials was in charge of monitoring and evaluation, and her statement to the committee was, well, we've set some targets and we're trying to get them to commit to the targets.
I got you. How was the commissioner of police? Was the
Not
issue,
excellent. The
was
report
the
was not
issue,
excellent.
was the issue of her rating raised at all?
No, I didn't raise it specifically because I didn't want to belabor that point, but I asked about performance that I got a document, but I think I shared with you earlier on in the week with your
With the crime.
other presentation she made about certain targets they had running to the end of the year. So I took out the page with the targets about murders, larcenies, violent crimes, etc. And they put 20%, 30%, 15% in different categories. So I asked specifically, now it's to the end of the year, are you on trend to the end of June and or the end of the year? And in many of the 10 or 12 metrics, it was no. Murders were up by 10%. They targeted reducing murders by 30%. Murders were up by 10%. So they're going in many of the metrics in the wrong direction.
Mm.
You understand?
Did they give an explanation for that? And why they can't get a handle on it?
Well,
I mean,
as I said before,
you would still ask. I mean, even if you know.
In trying to be fair, these are new strategies, right? This is a relatively new crime plan and new strategies. So they said of course the issue of gangs remains prevalent. The issue of the chairman, the question about process and sticking to proper legal processes came up with Senator Lakshmi Dayal. And the chairman raised a point about a case he sat on 7 or so years ago, where the case was thrown out against the defendant because police officers kept the suspect, and didn't feed him for 7 days, so that the information they got out of him was thrown out, because at that point you have no will but to tell him what you want. You understand? So process is important, as you know, as a legal agent, right? And the commissioner said, well, that was 7 years ago. We don't operate that way again. I said, are you forgetting the Brent Thomas issue where 2 attorneys general commented on your missteps in process? Crickets.
And what she said,
crickets.
She didn't reply.
Crickets, smile. I can't comment unless it's being investigated. So you see the dichotomy we face. And then I asked about the report. I said, I saw you, the Minister of National Security said you gave an oral report. Is a written report being compiled? Yes. So after some prodding, she said it would be ready in 2 weeks. I'm gonna take a breath. You're making me relive that thing yesterday. I do really want to relive it right now. So you didn't think that when the Barbados Attorney General, and I quoted him, Dale Marshall, the Honorable, said that the police operated with outside the norms of law, and the Trinidad and Tobago Attorney General Reginald Amo SC had to apologize to the Barbadian government and people because of the quote-unquote missteps of the Trinidad and Tobago police. And you say that happened 7 years ago, it can happen again. It happened last year. I only had 1 cup of coffee for the morning, so I can't go through all this stress.
Yeah. But it's your following due process is always something that comes up with police officers and police agencies, not only in Trinidad, across the world. You have cases that are thrown out because it's something that can happen. There can be gaps in the system.
And I brought it up in the context of public trust and confidence, because the police need the public to be confident and trust them to collaborate with them. Otherwise, they can't do their job.
Yeah.
You understand?
Was that
while I was raising the topic of public trust and confidence, the commissioner said, that they're working on that to deal with indiscipline, etc. And I just happened to pick up my phone and up, bam, Express report. Police officer claims mug, ticket book, and a host of other things missing from his locker in the police. Stolen from his locker. So you're thieving from each other and you're telling the public trust and confidence. You can't even trust each other.
I read that.
So I read it to the honorable the police commissioner. Said, but while you're saying this improving, I'm seeing a report in the papers that says that somebody said the thief found the thing in the locker. Ma'am.
What she said?
She referred to DCP. Who went through the norm, the policy recitation that they do. That this is what we have in policy to do. Yeah. Or you change your topic now. It's 20 to talk about the little piggy now. I'm here the rest.
This
little piggy is tired. This little piggy is tired.
Yeah, but this little piggy is tired. Besides Paul, is on this weekend in San Fernando, and it's our final 2 shows on Sapa on Saturday at 8:30 on Sunday.
You could put me in that play this weekend because I'm real tired.
Of course, tickets are on sale tickets are on sale at the box office because I know a lot of you came to the box office yesterday. So tickets were on sale since yesterday from the box office itself at Sapa and continues every day at the box office from 12 noon to 6 p.m. daily. And of course, tickets are on sale or have been on sale for the last 2 weeks at our usual outlet at K Squared Fashions in C3 Center and Gulf City, Friends of Marabella by the Roundabout, and Creme Fresh at Brentwood Mall in Chagonas for those of you in the central area who are coming to the show in San Fernando. It's our final 2 shows. Absolutely in Trinidad with this play. And we have one more show in Tobago on June 3rd. And tickets are already on sale in Tobago at Jade Monkey, at Pablo Supermarket in Roxborough, and Yellow Butterfly Art Gallery in Scarborough, Tobago. You can
May I take the opportunity?
And at the Shore Park Complex, their box office at the Shore Park Complex. You can also get tickets for those of you in Tobago coming to the show. But we're in San Fernando this weekend. Looking
I
forward
wanted to
to
put a little twinkle because I want to congratulate Richard. I saw we did it yesterday, but we want to do it again right now today. I saw you on set for Mixed Up. And I know, are you the writer?
Yes, I am.
This is your concept, right? That they bring into life, Film TT and TTT. And I know that you've been working till the wee hours of the morning, guiding the actors and stuff. So I just wanted to publicly, to your face, congratulate you on this amazing achievement. I think well deserved, and I can't wait to see it. So congratulations to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much.
How's it going?
It has been.
Let's talk about something light and uplifting for a second. How's it going?
It's been an amazing journey. I mean, it's a building capacity program. So I'm really what is called a showrunner, meaning I am like the creative manager of the process. So I'll have a say in, what the set looks like, what colors you're using, different things. So you collaborate with a lot of other creatives in different aspects of the actual project. But I'm also the writer.
How many? You're doing 6 episodes, I understand.
5 episodes. 5 episodes.
5 episodes, okay.
It was a 5-episode requirement, so to speak. So you do the 5 episodes, and of course we had to film all the episodes in different ways. Of course, in film and television, unlike stage where everything follows, when you're doing a play and you're rehearsing a play, you follow the linear
no, it's not linear at all.
the scene chronology of this series. But when you're actually filming, you may not necessarily follow the chronology of the episode. You may, for example, be filming in the kitchen, and you will do all of the scenes in the kitchen across all episodes, just as an example.
Because it's dressed for it already.
Right. So you do everything there because it becomes a cost, it becomes time, all of those kinds of management issues. And what you have is the editor who actually now sews it all together, so to speak, so that it makes sense. So there's been the cast has been amazing. The crew has been amazing, and of course all the other people, whether it be costumier, the makeup and hair people, all the cameramen, the set designers who were there, making sure things are in place, continuity people, and all of the other people, Film TT and TTT, have been excellent support in making this happen. And it has just been really an amazing experience. And what
That's
was
great.
really good about it is that everybody involved in it was excited about it.
So even though the hours are very, very long, people stay enthused.
Yeah. Actors have been excited. Actors are very passionate about it. So you
Well, I
want
think
that
it's a
kind of
monumental
atmosphere.
step in the right direction for
Yeah.
creative arts in Trinidad and Tobago, to be able to film written by a Trinidadian, directed by a Trinidadian, acted by Trinidadians, edited, produced. I think having moving in the direction of a sitcom coming out of, is it a sitcom? Would you say it's a sitcom?
Yeah, it's a sitcom.
Sitcom coming out of Trinidad and Tobago is
Coming
a
out of
step in the right,
Trinidad.
because I know we have the talent. We have the talent in this country.
Yeah.
So
So, it can be nerve-wracking too on that other part of it. And then of course with any creative process, you always go through how is this going to come across? How is this, every time you're doing a new play, for example, that opening night is always a tense night because you'd never for certain sure how things are going to come across to an
but
audience.
as somebody in Hollywood always says, what's his Steven Spielberg, or who's the one with Titanic? He's Spielberg.
James Cameron.
James Cameron. Their first foray into film or television wasn't perfect. It was a learning process, leading to the blockbuster, and that's what we have to understand in this country. It's a learning process, and I'm sure even the first foray, given all your experiences and all your competencies and cast and the crew and the technical support, will do well. All right, you have papers. Congratulations. Keep them.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Paul. No, I don't have papers this morning.
Are you going to put me through these papers this morning again with all this drama?
Mhm.
Let me start. Well, then you come up with a question. All right, it's Thursday, 18th May. Good morning. Let's start with The Guardian. Massive salary hike for Jamaica's political directorate. Of course, the Jamaican opposition is highly against it. Jamaican Prime Minister Andrew Holness announced that members of parliament will receive a significant increase in salaries. Right? COP earlier off target in June crime reduction plan. Gangs have TT post workers running scared. Experts say criminals may be recycling TTPS and army bullets. That was part of the GSC yesterday when we had Ministry of National Security before the GSC. CXC probing leak of CSEC math exam. I saw a lot of kids saying that math exam was really difficult yesterday.
Oh, really?
On social media. Heritage warns of danger of building near pipelines. An owner of house on Heritage Pipeline wants legal advice. Tutor accepts 4%. Let's move now to the Newsday Online. Let's send them some pictures. I like the picture. Anyway, 350K bail, 1,000 bail for Freeport man and gun charges. Mayaro Junction swarmed by bees. Barataria man acquitted in 2011 murder. Warning for all TT post workers: don't wear gang numbers. Isn't that astounding?
Amazing.
Yeah.
OWTU head that you can't wear certain numbers now because
amazing. That level of crazy stupidity that we have to get to that kind of level.
We have to get to that.
Ridiculous.
OWTU head reopened former Petrosian medical centers. DCP believes school bomb scare was a hoax. Heritage warns public strong action against pipeline right-of-way violators. And CXC concerned about CSEC math exam paper leak. I haven't heard the Education Ministry comment on that yet. I don't know. All right, move to the Express now. Earlier fails murder target is the top story trending as an hour ago. Rhea Tate is the author of that. Teachers take 4%. TNT scores low in rule of law survey. CSEC math, or CXC, math paper leaked. Illegal guns and ammo seized by police. Teachers accept 4% offer, says CPO. And gunman comes to kill driving student instructor and gets a bullet. So those are trending stories in your Express, Guardian, and Newsday for today,
Isn't that crazy?
Thursday, 18th May 2023.
All right. Yeah, that shooting licensing office yesterday, that's crazy. Let's say good morning going out to Rampage. Good morning to Paula. She's asking us to call Gypsy when people will get paid for Carnival. Um, Paula, once you send in your invoice, I know you can call NCC. I know they're paying out. So you can call NCC and see if your check is ready.
Okay, get a check out today. How you know that?
What's that?
I feel like you get a check.
No. I know some people who worked for Carnival and they went in and they got their payment because they asked me to do the same thing, and that's how I know. I called in. Trinity in Boston. Good morning. Um, let's see. Ingrid Adams, Edward Aliong. Good morning to you as well. All right, let's get the results of our morning poll from yesterday. Yesterday, we asked you, do you believe that some bank employees are involved in identifying customers withdrawing large sums of cash for criminals to rob them? That was our poll results after this.
Are you ready for the wet and hurricane seasons? National Disaster Prevention and Preparedness Month, NDPPM, is here. The NDPPM Multi-Sectoral Committee, along with various government ministries and agencies, invites you to come out and learn more about disaster prevention and preparedness on Friday, 19th May at the Brian Lara Promenade from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. and Roxborough Sid Grace Sporting Complex from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. You don't want to miss it. Being disaster ready is my responsibility. For more information on the NDPPM activities, visit the ODPM website at www.odpm.gov.tt/NDPPM.
All right. Do you believe that some bank employees are involved in identifying customers withdrawing large sums of cash for criminals to rob them? 96% said yes. A lot of votes on that one too. A lot of votes. 96 said yes. CJ New York, good morning to you as well. All right, let's get into our morning poll, shall we?
I know this is something that we touch on every now and then. It's like a litmus test about how people feel about the police. So I wanted to ask about the trust and confidence issue, which would have been one of the issues raised at that JSC yesterday. So do you have trust and confidence in the TTPS?
Well, I would change it just a bit. I would say, is your trust and confidence in the police increasing, as opposed to absolute trust and confidence? Is it improving? Is it increasing?
You mean okay? You mean it could be low, but you still
but you're moving in the right direction. You're actually getting to trust them more, kind of thing. You understand?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get you. So is your trust and confidence in the TTPS increasing in spite of the increasing levels of serious crime? So is your trust in the TTPS, your trust and confidence in the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service increasing despite the increasing levels of crime? That's our poll this morning. What do you say? Is your trust and confidence in the TTPS increasing? That's our simple poll this morning. Yes or no? 222-TALK, 222-8255. North Americans, 866-525-1099. People on the web and the app, you know what to do. And of course, people in other parts of the planet, 1-868-222-TALK, 222-8255.
All right. Of course, our mobile app and our website at power102fm.com. Not forgetting, for those who are viewing us on YouTube, can also send a message for us in the comment section. And I'll get it right here directly in the studio on 2 monitors, would you believe?
Yeah. North
Left
Americans, toll
and
free,
right.
866-525-1099. Just reminding you.
Yeah. Leonard Naipaul, good morning to you as well. All right.
So is your trust and confidence in the TTPS, the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, increasing? It may have been low, but you may believe that, okay, I'm feeling more trustful and more confident in the TTPS under the current commissioner, Earl Christopher.
Joy says yes. Dennis says yes. 222-8255. Lorna, morning Lorna. Kali, special morning to you, Kali. And Indy, unfortunately, no. Stretch says yes. Trevor and Rima also says yes. All right, well, that's good. All right. Give us a call, send us a message via our various portals on our morning poll question.
Is your trust and confidence in the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service increasing, despite the increasing levels of crime? But is your trust and confidence in the TTPS increasing? That's our poll this morning. What says you, listeners? 222-TALK, 222-8255. North Americans, 866-525-1099. And that's absolutely toll-free, by the way. People in other parts of the planet, 1-868-222-TALK, 222-8255. And, of course, people on the web and app, you can send your votes via the messaging portals on those respective platforms as we take your votes as we head towards 7 a.m. this morning.
Yeah. Beefy Smith says no. Leonard Naipaul says half of 1%.
I don't know. Is that a yes or no? Give a yes or no. Stop
Yes
giving
or
us
no,
math.
please. Yes or no, please.
Is your trust and confidence in the TTPS increasing? You can say yes, you can say no.
That's
what
all.
your perspective is, yes.
That's all.
Simple.
All right. Let's see. I did Beefy Smith. Okay. Leonard Naipaul says, and no. Half of 1% and no. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Thank you so much, Leonard Naipaul. It wasn't that easy. All right. Let's see. Long Islander says, good morning, guys. No. Thank you, Long Islander. Ish out in Malik says no. Troy says no. All right. It's pretty even right now. 222-8255. North America, you know what's going on. Call us 866-525-1099.
Is your trust and confidence in the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service increasing? It's like a litmus test we take from time to time as we deal with the crime situation in Trinidad and Tobago. So is your confidence in the TTPS increasing at this point? Yes or no? That's our question. What do you think? How do you feel about it? Do you feel like your trust and confidence is increasing in the TTPS as they, are on the front line dealing with the crime situation? Some of you may have watched the JSC. Some of you would be reading some of the reports this morning. What says you? We want to know. So 222-TALK, 222-8255, North Americans, 866-525-1099. People on the web and the app, send your votes in from the portals on those platforms. We will like to know your opinion.
Yeah, Mario says no to the poll. Thank you, Mario.
Is your trust and confidence in the TTPS increasing?
Yeah. Call us. Tell us what you think. 222-8255.
I maintain that I do see that they are pretty visible. I do see them around. Sometimes you don't see, you could drive from one point to the other and you won't see TTPS at all.
They're quite visible.
But they're quite visible these days. I find you see them around. You see them.
Yeah, from Barataria to Port of Spain, I passed 3.
Yeah. You do see them. So obviously there is a uptick in visibility. At least from what I'm seeing, that's my personal experience. I'm seeing them.
CJ New York says no. Launch Park says no. Miss Ingrid, sadly, no. Thank you. Launch Park, CJ, and Miss Ingrid out in Tucson, Arizona.
Is your trust and confidence in the TTPS increasing? That's our poll this morning. It could have been low. We're not asking how low it was in terms of your personal opinion. What we're simply asking is it notching upwards? Is it increasing?
Yeah.
That's our poll this morning. Are you feeling a little bit more confident that the TTPS is up to handling the job? Or do you not?
Good morning, caller.
Good morning, Stephen. My answer is no.
All right, thank you. All right, thank you so much. Let's see any more here. The big bad wolf just walked into the studio. Okay, any more here? Any more here? All right. Okay, let's get into our 8 o'clock major news. 7 o'clock major news. A rush in the hour, boy. A rush in the hour. Have them doubles in the car. That must be why. Let's get into it.
This is your news bulletin from Power 102 Digital.
The TTPS not on target for a reduction of crime by June. The Commissioner of Police says little on the missteps surrounding the Brent Thomas matter. The police service is trying to verify the authenticity of a letter relating to delivery officers from the TT Post and what they wear while on the job. A New York truck attacker gets 10 life sentences plus 260 years. Details in a moment. This is news to 7 o'clock on Power 102 Digital. I'm Afril Sintel-Bab. Good morning. The head of the police service says there has been a 10% increase in murders. The comments were made by the Commissioner of Police, Erla Haywood Christopher, after being questioned on whether the TPS was on target to see a reduction in murders by June this year. It was posed by Joint Select Committee Vice Chairman Dr. Paul Richards during Wednesday's sitting of the JSC on national security.
Based on where we are now, you would have initially given a June 30th on your last visit with us for improvements in the stats related to performance. Do you think you're on track for that now? I see you recently gave yourself an excellent performance rating. And what challenges are you facing, if any, in achieving the trends toward the end of June target you gave yourself, and in terms of the end of year targets?
In response, Commissioner Haywood Christopher revealed the TTPS remains on course in some areas, but has noticed challenges in aspects such as larceny of vehicles, a 12% detection rate for murders, and a 16% detection rate for violent crime.
For our 20% reduction in murders, we are not able. So we are challenged here. We have a 10% increase in murders. We target a 20% reduction in violent crime. Right now we are at a 15% decrease, a 15% reduction in serious reported crime. We have achieved that. Right now we are at 17% decrease, a 10% reduction in the larceny of motor vehicles. We have not been successful here. We just have a 1% decrease. A 5% reduction in fatal RTAs. We have a 15% reduction.
Information was also provided on the detection rate for the various police divisions.
For the Spring Division, a detection rate as of May 13th, 12%. Southern Division, 49%. Western Division, 23%. Northern Division, 29%. North Central Division 18%, Central Division 22%, Southwestern Division 40%, Eastern Division 55%, Northeastern Division 23%, Tobago Division 24% of 29% overall.
Okay.
Steps are being taken to ensure officers are being properly guided in the performance of their investigations. This is the only comment that the police commissioner was willing to proffer on the missteps surrounding the Brent Thomas matter while addressing the Joint Select Committee. Thomas, a legitimate firearms dealer, was taken from his hotel room in Barbados and forcibly returned to Trinidad to face gun charges. High Court Judge Devendra Rampasad ruled the police actions to be tantamount to abduction. Commissioner Christopher said had little to say on the matter when it was raised by Senator Paul Richards. He questioned whether the incident spoke to officers' knowledge of proper processes and the need for training in that regard. She insisted that the matter is being reviewed and suggested that steps are being taken to ensure officers always follow due process.
How do we reconcile that happening some months ago in the context of officers' process within the ambits of the law and training of officers to effectively carry out their mandates within the ambits of the law and regulations and proper process? I know what case I'm talking about.
I believe I know which case you are speaking about, but what is important to note, the processes and the whole incident is being reviewed. And although I would not want to say much on the issue, simply because of the fact that it is still in the courts, what I would assure is that steps are being made to ensure officers are properly guided in the performance of their investigation.
The commissioner did reveal, however, that a written report on the Brent Thomas matter should be provided to the National Security Minister within the next 2 weeks. The incident sparked a regional fiasco with Barbados Attorney General forced to intervene and clarify his country's knowledge of the incident.
Because of the implications of that, and yes, it's before the courts, is a written report expected? And understand the Minister of National Security indicated an oral report had been presented by your good self. Is a written report expected from that, or has a documented report been created already?
A documented report has not been created as yet.
Is there a reason for that? Given the high profile and sensitive nature of that situation?
I'm in the process of compiling the report.
Is a timeline on that?
Yes, there's a timeline given to the minister.
Can you share that with us?
Within the next 2 weeks.
The police service says it's trying to verify the authenticity of a letter which has been circulating on social media relating to delivery officers from the TTPS and what they wear while on the job. It said in an effort to protect the lives of delivery officers and on advice of the TTPS with immediate effect, delivery officers are not to wear and or carry any item, clothing, shoes, caps, handbags, umbrellas, or any other paraphernalia while out on delivery bearing the numbers 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9. The memorandum said these numbers represent different gangs across communities. The matter was raised by JSC member Dr. Rudal Munilal.
This is where I was coming to, whether authentic or not. You share the concern I'm raising about the graphic nature of this type of correspondence and the way it is presented. Because, for example, a state enterprise or any corporation, they are free to give directions to their staff on what to wear, what not to wear, how they present themselves to the public. That is their right. But to do it in this way, and then to suggest that is the advice of the TTPS, we are doing this, we don't want to do it, but the TTPS advised this, I think is something that would require attention maybe later in the day.
However, speaking at the Joint Select Committee on National Security, Howard Christopher said the matter was brought to her attention before coming to the JSC sitting, and at this time, groundwork is being done to verify the letter. The JSC inquired into the criminal justice system in Trinidad and Tobago to determine strategies to achieve greater efficiency and effectiveness.
That letter was brought to my attention just prior to coming into the meeting. I am actually in the process of verifying the authenticity of that document. I am not sure.
Okay, sure.
And neither me or any of my deputies or senior superintendents are aware of any such instruction.
You are listening to news on Power 102 Digital to 7 o'clock. An Islamic State supporter behind the deadliest terror attack in New York since 9/11 has been told he will die in prison serving multiple life sentences. Saifulo Saipov killed 8 people when he drove a truck at pedestrians and cyclists on a Manhattan street in 2017. He was given 10 life sentences, 8 of which run concurrently, plus 260 years, and will never be released. As he was sentenced, he was told that he had destroyed so many lives but showed no remorse during the trial. Saipov was confronted by victims' families and survivors in court, with the judge noting his sheer unrepentant nature during sentencing on Wednesday. Finally, as weather news for the period today till midnight, Trinidad and Tobago generally fair hazy and breezy, but with some partly cloudy patches, producing isolated showers by late morning into afternoon. There is the low chance of a heavy shower favoring hilly areas and southern and western areas of Trinidad. Partly cloudy late night with light or moderate showers in a few areas. Look out for a forecast maximum temperature of 32 degrees Celsius at Piarco International Airport and 31 degrees Celsius at Crown Point, Tobago. It's currently 27 degrees Celsius at Piarco and 26 degrees Celsius at Crown Point. Recapping your headlines at 7 o'clock, the TTPS is not on target for a reduction on crime by June. The Commissioner of Police says little on the missteps surrounding the Brent Thomas matter. The police service says it's trying to verify the authenticity of a letter relating to delivery officers from the TT Post and what they wear while on the job. And New York truck attacker gets 10 life sentences plus 260 years. I'm Avril Cynthia Bob. That was news to 7 o'clock on Power 102 Digital. Look out for more news in detail at 12 noon and an update at 8 o'clock this morning. For more details, log on to power102fm.com.
Up to date and credible. Power 102 Digital.
Alrighty, thank you, Avril, for our major news. You can join us again at 8 o'clock for our news brief. All right, let's take a look at what's happening on the highways and the byways. It is the peak time for traffic. And I'll start out in the east, approaching Santa Rosa. You got some traffic Piarco towards Uwe, and then Valse in the Port of Spain, Eastern Main Road, getting heavier as you pass Uriah Butler Highway. All right, going up Lady Young Road, slow going until you get Coconut Drive to the Lookout Way. It's a lot heavier. Maraval out of Dago, you're going to get traffic on the Solo, pretty much from Charlieville. Yep, Chaguanas Main Road is also very heavy. Rivulet Road is heavy. And and Ibis Gardens towards Curup, you've also got some traffic. All right. All right, let me see if I have any more votes here. Check in here. Okay, Miss Ingrid was the last one. I'm just checking one more time. Scroll up. Yeah. No, that's it. All right, Rich, so let's get the results of our morning poll. Before we get our guest online, Mr. Wendell Constantine.
Our poll this morning was, is your trust and confidence increasing in the TTPS? Wherever your trust and confidence was, whatever level it was at, is it now increasing? That was our poll this morning. We had 15 people voting in the allotted time. Of the 15 people voting, 4 of you said yes, it is increasing. 11 of you said no, it's not. So, of course, you can continue to vote on this poll throughout the day and throughout programming, and we'll give you the final results tomorrow morning, which will be Friday.
Yeah.
My goodness, we had the weekend already because tonight the weekend begins at the second after midnight. And don't you forget it.
Yeah. Mogains said, I'm late, but hell no to the poll. All right. Thank you so much, Mogains. Out in Aruka.
But that'll take us up to 16.
16-11, yeah.
12-4. Obviously, the TTPS has a lot of work to do in terms of inspiring people and doing other things. And it's difficult because you have so much. Once anything happens, it's almost instantaneously on social media. And that feeds into the the negative perspective, of course, of the country being so riddled with crime and its TPS not being as effective as they can be. Their detection rates were, if you're listening to the news, their detection rates were very sobering. I mean, there was one, I think only the Southern Division was at 49%, and there was one other division that was at 55%, but the rest were were below 30. According to what if you would have just read on the news, which is pretty depressing statistics, because the one definite barometer that makes that is a deterrent to criminals is that they will be caught. That's the biggest deterrent. That I know I will be caught if I do X, Y, or Z.
Yep.
And if you're failing in that, or you're not meeting your targets as yet in
Wait, that's why I specifically asked for the disaggregation of the divisional detection rates, because they had indicated the overall detection rate is 30%, but I think it's 10 or 12 divisions, and if one is 49, it will drag it up. But if one is 10 and 12, those are the areas of concern, and that's why I tell people, when people are purporting statistics, you have to drill down.
Yeah.
Because statistics can be manipulated to make it look a particular way. Because really and truly, the national average is just each of them added and divided by the number of divisions. So I mean, it's not a pretty picture at all. And well, she's clearly not going to make Mrs. Hewitt Christopher and the police service are clearly not going to make their June targets that she set when she first appeared before the JSA, excuse me. And now we project to the end of the year when the document had been identified as when the targets will be achieved, but they're still not heading in the right direction for many of those documents. Let's welcome Mr. Wendell Constantine. Good morning, Mr. Constantine.
Well, good morning to you, Paul, and good morning to Steve, and good morning to Richard. Good morning to all listeners, viewers, and participants to Power 102 Digital and to the morning show. Thank you for the opportunity to be here.
Yeah,
Good morning, Wendell. How you doing? It's been a while since we saw each other.
Hi, Steve. It's been quite a while. 2001 to about 2003.
Let me make a confession. Video conferencing and these platforms take you into people's rooms, and the first thing I set a mark around the man room, yes?
That's quite all right. That's absolutely okay, Paul, by all means.
That's true. Good morning, Wendell. Good to see you, my old colleague from NBS Radio and TTT and CNMG and a host of media houses. But you're hearing it in a different capacity this morning. And congratulations, you've been appointed the CEO of FEED, which is the Foundation for the Enrichment and Enhancement of Life. That wonderful organization started by late Mr. Panton, if I'm not mistaken. So congratulations on that appointment. Yeah, I know Mr. Frost. Mr. Frost is the chairman.
Dr. Frost.
Dr. Frost is the chairman.
Yes, so the chairman of FEED. He is, yes.
Yeah. So give us, just for those who may not be familiar, which is a few, give us an overview of what FEED does.
Okay, so Paul, I'm going to let you know in typical radio fashion, right? I checked in with Steve beforehand as to how long we have. So I'm going to play with the time that we have available, but also to share with our listeners and viewers that the technical operator, Paul Richards, in a past incarnation would have taught me how to operate and announce simultaneously whilst at NBS Radio. So just to put that clearly out on the record. And then Steve would have sat behind the Power 102 board whilst I sat opposite a gentleman whom Richard knew by a different name, but I knew him as Ricardo, because at the time that I came in to read the news on Power 102 at the top of the hour, I could not be having a conversation with, what would you call that? A sobriquet called the Gladiator. So at that time, I would always respond to his questions by saying, yes, Ricardo, because that was the government name. But albeit to say, we're in good company. And the reason why I took the decision to take that approach to responding to Paul's question is because we have to see ourselves not simply as citizens of Trinidad and Tobago waiting on others to do something for us, but a family of persons, communities, neighborhoods, regions. If you want to use constituencies, go right ahead. And then by extension, a family on 2 islands, 2 rocks just off the coast of Venezuela. And the reason that I use that context is because together, not only do we just aspire and achieve, but together we make a profound difference in the lives of many. And that's where Field comes in. Clive Panton, being the brother of the Roman Catholic Archbishop, our first national Roman Catholic Archbishop, was the principal at Fatima College, and eventually, after his various roles in society, established a non-profit organization that was called FEEL. Just to switch the words around, Foundation for the Enhancement and Enrichment of Life, FEEL. He's also the brother, of course, of Father Gerard Panton, who established Serval many years prior to that. And as students and as youngsters, we may have gone to a poor man's dinner at the Hilton, where you got a bowl of soup and a cup of water with a little bun. And that was your way of participating in helping the less fortunate in Trinidad and Tobago by sharing a meal that they were accustomed to, persons who were poor would be accustomed to. And it's a telling moment for children to not just have the big glamorous meal, but something very basic. FEEL, on the other hand, was established because families in need, and this may sound like a playbook that's repeating itself in the drama of Trinidad and Tobago, families in need were reaching out to churches and communities and elders asking for assistance. My child has no milk before school this morning. I cannot make ends meet. I've lost my job. I'm the only one in the household. I'm the pensioner, and it's my pension that's being used to run a family of 6 or 8 or 10. As a consequence, hampers were collected by Clive Panton, and those hampers went to families in need. All right, so maybe week 1, it might have been 5 families. But as you fast forward 30 years, we are bringing in goods in kind, staple items, the peas and the beans and the rice and the cereal and the cornmeal and canned sausages and canned mackerel, a series of items that we in turn will share with non-profit organizations in communities across Trinidad and Tobago, right? So if you have a registered, and Paul, you would appreciate this, legitimately registered, bona fide legal entity with your board of directors and your accounts and your financials in order, you are eligible to be registered with FEEL. feeltt.org, O-R-G, would be the website where you can see all the forms to download, etc. And when you pass the assessment, there is a registration fee, but from then on in, you are approved to receive goods in kind for however many people you are serving in your community. So you might know that there are 200 families in your community that are in need, especially after the last 2 to 3 years that we went through as a country and as a world, right? As a consequence, the goods in kind are passed to the NPOs that are registered, non-profit organizations, and they in turn distribute to families. So even after church, sometimes for some communities on a Sunday, the pastor is in the church hall or at the front of the church distributing parceled out items to families, individuals, communities in need. We also do the same for schools that are registered with FEEL. We do the same for whenever there is a disaster in the country. And many people say that, yes, that's where I know FEEL from, that the minute that you are removed from your home because of flooding or some other unforeseen act of God, that you land up in a shelter, the mattresses arrive and the blankets arrive and the tarpaulin for your house arrives, and then some staple food arrives. You might get a battery-operated radio, a series of items that will allow you to get back on your feet after a challenging or difficult unforeseen circumstance. And we do so by extension whenever there's a need in Grenada, when there's a need in Dominica, when there's a need in St. Vincent. So you could think of a volcano, you could think of hurricanes, you could think of earthquakes. Whatever is needed in order to assist the lives of the less fortunate in Trinidad and Tobago in terms of goods in kind, and to give them a moment of feeling better about themselves.
Well, then how
Yeah,
can persons contribute? Because field has to get their goods and their services that they
Yeah,
distribute.
from
Well,
somewhere.
how can the public, how does the public contribute?
great, very well. So Citizen Trinidad and Tobago can easily go to the field website, fieldtt.org, and once you're in possession of I would say a ATM card, a bank card, there are digits and sums and quantities in various monetary values on the website that will allow you to contribute directly in TT dollars. Should you wish to share this with your relatives and friends abroad, they can contribute in US dollars. So that's a general public donation activity, part one. Part two, you may have items that are still in good condition. You know, mom and dad used to say to you, keep your clothes tidy, keep your books clean, because you're gonna pass them on to somebody who deserves them after. Those good quality, well kept items can be donated to Feel in order to distribute to persons less fortunate than ourselves, than yourselves. So you may consider goods in kind, you may consider cash as a transaction, you may consider volunteering time whenever there's a need for a distribution or something major in a community, and so you would be working directly with the NPOs and supported by Feel. As well as if you're in a corporate environment and you're a captain of industry, you would like your staff, or your staff is saying, we don't feel as though we're doing enough for society. We're making a lot of profit, but we're not really making a difference. Like, nobody talks about us being nice, and that would be quite unfair for many in the society. You could decide that you're going to collect a donation amongst staff, monetary. As a head of an organization, you may want to match that monetary contribution, and then that becomes either a deed of covenant or a Feel 1,000 club membership that allows you to make a contribution. And then I tell you, should anybody in your organization then fall on hard times, you're entitled to call Feel and request of us some equal contribution support that may help them to literally just get into a comfort zone so that they can think through how they're going to get past these circumstances that they may have fallen on. So I've given you some options, and we just do a little bit of fundraising, and I'm using those words carefully. On the weekend, Feel will host a charity golf tournament. Now, appreciate everything else that I've just spoken of, all the forms of donations, all the forms of goods in kind, those go to non-profit organizations to get to persons in need. That's not where we get our operating account or funds from. We have to do our work to raise our money in order to take care of our staff, in order to run our organization, in order to serve the people of Trinidad and Tobago. So it's a twofold responsibility, but a tremendous opportunity to make a difference in the lives of the less fortunate in the country.
Yeah. You know, it's you know, a lot of times you would see Feel, or you would hear the name Feel, and you know it's an organization that's assisting. But for a lot of times you get caught up in your life in
Yes.
terms of dealing with whatever you're dealing with. You know these organizations exist, and it was interesting that you started the entire conversation, Wendell, by talking about the responsibility we all have as a family of Trinbagonians and as humans for each other in terms of assisting when we can. And a lot of times, you know, that can sometimes be a little remote because you're so self-absorbed.
Yes, Richard. Agreed. And also see it from another standpoint. And guys, this is in no way any kind of diminishing of the work that's being done by the media in Trinidad and Tobago. But we, all of us, who land up in an electronic environment that communicates with masses, are contributing to the programming of our society. Think about it. Every word that comes out of our mouth, there's either a child a mentor, an adult, a business person who is receiving this message and is influenced positively or negatively to act in a particular way. Not again, let me be fair. What we do on a morning programs the nation on how it's going to behave for the rest of the day. You may not see it that way at this point in time, but let's remember, Paul, you remember this, you'd be behind a mixing board, and the jingle had to play, and it was David Elcock in the morning. You know, every child knew where they were supposed to be
At that time, yes.
at that time. When the news theme airs on Power 102 on the morning, do you know that you're late for work? Yeah, it's situations like that. The BBC call tone, the NBS bum 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 tum tum tum, Dateline tadam tadam tum tadam tadam tadam. Those things told us where we needed to be as a people. We either were late for work, or we needed to be at our offices, or we were ready for a meeting. Equally, what we say, how we communicate, the people we rely on, the focus that we place on certain individuals, organizations, or entities determines at the end of the day how we even feel about ourselves as a society. And forgive the pun on the word feel, but it's more than simply just passing on hampers and bags and goods in kind.
Well, I'm
It's
glad you
about
mentioned that, Wendell, because I was
adding
first
value.
introduced to feel. It would have been about 15 years ago when at another radio network, there was a concert
Right?
which was spearheaded called We Can.
Yes.
And we worked closely with Mr. Panton to
That's right.
raise goods and services. People brought 6 cans and they got entry into the concert. And people brought, they realized goods and services for almost 2 years. But in addition to that, I think, following from what you're saying here, it gave the country, young, middle-aged, teenagers, older persons, a chance to
Families.
participate in something that made them feel good,
Yes.
that took away from the bad news at the time, that made us feel empowered as a media house, because to their credit, the other media houses, which rarely happens, came on board and joined with us at the time, 96.1, to participate in this fundraiser, and all the media put aside their competitive instincts and promoted this. So the country jumped on board. It was a really amazing moment. Do you think that, following from what you're saying in terms of the programming of the society by these types of initiatives, is something we can see again in the future? And the golf tournament is great because you have to raise funds
Yes.
to run the
And
organization.
and that's
but
catering to a certain demographic, a
yeah,
certain group of individuals who
but
like
to
to
get
do that.
the public involved in something like that happened about 15, almost 20 years ago, that brought us together in a positive way to help each other. As you said, together we aspire, together we achieve. Is that something you feel would consider again?
Not just to consider, appreciate. I've used a little bit of a mantra in the organization since I've started in the role. We help people who help people. Now, it might sound as though it's tangential to a brand that had to do with insurance, where people are people. Let's park that for a minute. But the way that you feel good about yourself is when you have a positive impact on others. That's how you feel good. And moreover, when as a family, collectively, you can look around the cupboard and take out items and put it into a hamper, and suddenly you're presenting that to others, you feel good because you are making a contribution where you think you could have done absolutely nothing. And suddenly, that person appreciates you. And I want to take the give and take a bit further. Because when you give to that person, you have absolutely no idea when next your life circle will come around to those same individuals. You may be lying in a hospital bed and suddenly be in need of an item that only that person that you've made a contribution to many years ago can contribute to the saving of your life. But we don't see that at the moment. I was making a comment yesterday to some colleagues, and I said, in my world, the life that I was raised in, foul, obscene, disrespectful, indecent language may have only been heard by sailors on the port or by a drunk person at 4 o'clock in the morning leaving a bar. It was not part and parcel of the national language. We did not abuse people with our tongue. It was not accepted. And if you dared to go in that direction, someone would correct you. We used to have the Archbishop, the Bishop of the Anglican Church, the moderator of the Presbyterian Church, the head of the Baha'i faith, Muslims, Hindus, Paul, you know this, coming onto radio. Steve, you've experienced it as well, to tell the nation, you're doing the wrong thing, behave yourself. Now we are encouraging the wrong thing to be interviewed. Tell us why you did what you did. It's wrong. It was wrong when you did it. It is wrong now. How does that become an item to be promoted? So, Paul, when you ask the question, how could we see a resurgence of an opportunity for families to come together, to simply make an entrance to an event where it's only cans of food or clothing that's no longer fitting you, etc. That's who we are. Deep down in our country, that's who we are. We don't pillage and plunder and murder. We give, we care, we share. And what happens in the society now is that we've somehow become obsessed, maybe through the altar of Zuckerberg, but we've become obsessed in trying to promote everything that's negative in the country. This is an opportunity here. Here we are talking about feel. 7:35 in the morning. Primetime radio doesn't talk about good stuff at 7:35 in the morning. Primetime radio wants to see what went wrong yesterday. And we spend our time consuming the negative. And this is being heard on radio, where thousands of children are sitting in maxis on their way to school. And that's how they get programmed to face a teacher from 8 o'clock in the morning. Do you know what happens to the poor teacher with that child? It's now a banter about you can't tell me anything. My mommy say you can't tell me this, etc., etc. And now it becomes an argument and a war rather than a respect and a community participation. Teachers ought to be honored and respected, and they have an obligation to be of service to the nation's children. So too maxi taxi drivers. Because the type of music that children experience between 6 o'clock and 8 o'clock in the morning has a direct impact on how they consume their education from 8 o'clock until 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And then we put them back into the same morass from 2 o'clock until whatever time they get home. Hopefully to a human being rather than a television or an iPad or a phone. So as I say this,
Well, I think you're speaking about,
you may find me passionate about it.
Not only mass media, but I mean, because mass media has changed dramatically. It's not radio and television alone. Every child has an iPad or a phone where they consume content of one kind or another. And it seems in many instances the content that veers them toward the negative is in far more availability than the content that veers them toward the positive and feeling good about themselves and enacting the values in them that we want to see as a society. So how do we, this is one opportunity, but think about how many opportunities like this we get to participate, or we get to teach the children a particular value system, as opposed to, mommy, I want a cell phone, mommy, I want a bling t-shirt, mommy, I want a bling sneakers, because the attention economy and self has been promulgated at them for the last 10 or so years.
So here's a good opportunity. Mommy, I would like a new phone, please. The one I have is not working properly. Sure, Paul, you can. Can you share with me all of your books from last term that are now in good order? Let's give that to a friend who's coming up to the next class, and by their receiving it, we will put arrangements in place for you to get a phone. We give, we share, we interact with each other. We must be able to see our neighbor not as an enemy and an opponent, but a brother, a sister. It could be an auntie, a tanty, a nana, an uncle, a friend, a bro. from Trinidad and Tobago. That's who we are. We're supposed to be in a position of goodness and kindness and gentleness and regard for the well-being and dignity of all. Okay,
Yeah.
refugee or national. And field does provide this opportunity when persons, and Richard, let's see how I give you a further response to this. There are occasions when field contributes directly to silent emergencies. The media puts out a story that someone's home has been destroyed by fire last night. Field investigates or inquires through an NPO as to the circumstances of that family that has now been displaced. Or their councillor, member of parliament, or representative of the TTPS may share with us their certified information that the fire services, that they were definitely impacted by a fire last evening. But what do they immediately need? Just think. Clothing, maybe blankets, mattresses, some other form of accommodation. And whilst those in their neighborhood may be assisting with the accommodation, the needs that they have, their personal needs, can be part of the silent emergencies that field contributes to. We had a couple weeks or months ago, there were like 4 houses all raised at the same time, everything gone. And one after the other, day after day, we made sure that once we received the request, we mobilized immediately to pass on goods in kind to those families. They are called silent emergencies because we're not going to highlight their circumstances with names, etc. But field assists persons who are in some way are affected by the loss of their belongings through to unplanned circumstances. And that's who we're called to be. So if you've got stuff that you're not using in your home and they are of good quality, contributions are accepted. If you've got unexpected income, I don't know, I'll make a joke here. If you played a mark and you got some money, good for you. All right. But at the end of the day, the little that you got, are you prepared to share $5? Are you prepared to share $10 with someone who has nothing? Okay, who relies on somebody to bring food for them? They can't even cook a meal. Would you like to share with them? Would you like to feel good about making a difference in the lives of people less fortunate in our country? There is a chance. Our numbers are 624-7758. That's an easy number. 624-7758. Our website is fieldtt.org. That's O-R-G.
Yeah, and that feel is F-E-E-L.
Yes, F-E-E-L. Thank you, Steve. Our Facebook is there as Field T and A-N-D-T. There's Instagram, there's LinkedIn. And as a result of being in various social media spaces, as well as having our website, that's the conduit by which you can just leave a message. I need help. We need to contact you, so some number or form of contact information is required. And based on that, the first question we'll ask you is, where are you located? Okay, when we know where you are, and if you tell me Mount Lambert, or if you tell me Mbakadea or wherever, we're going to find the NPO in that area to contact you, because you need to have a direct relationship with people whom you see on a daily basis, but you didn't know that they were doing such tremendous work in their communities, and they in turn can vouch for you. We then get a report as to what your needs are, and based on those needs, we are able to mobilize the items that we will pass to the NPO, who then has to report back to field that you in fact received the items and that you are receiving the items. So there's accountability, there's transparency. Paul, you will appreciate that the items that we receive are containers coming into the country from somewhere. And so we have a responsibility to report back to somewhere what we did with the stuff that we got. Okay, that's only fair. And as a result, our society begins to feel, again, sorry for the pun, better about our little communities, which makes a difference to our little town, which makes a difference to an entire constituency, which makes a difference to our entire region, which makes a difference to our entire country. It's not something that we're unaccustomed to. It's that we've been distracted by other things. And we need to come to a
Is
point
is
being
there a
able
greater
to.
demand, Wendell, for the services of field, the goods and stuff? Are you seeing a greater demand?
So I'll tell you where we went. Prior to 2020 and the lockdown, etc., we were somewhere in the vicinity of between 34 to 44 million dollars worth of goods in kind being distributed on an annual basis. By the first year of the pandemic, we were as high as
$24 million.
34 to 44 million TT
Wow,
dollars
that's a
of
lot.
goods in kind in a year. By 2020, at the end of 2020 to 21, our assessment was that we were as high as 62 million TT dollars. So you immediately see what happened. Lockdown, stay at home, can't get food, the job, all of those things eventually resulted in a greater need. And so
Yeah.
more goods in kind had to come in, more contributions came in. You may remember that Field was also assisting in ensuring that at the start, cloth masks were being distributed across the country to the less and the least fortunate. And then as we saw some level of measures of getting back to some level of engagement and back out to some level of hybrid work, etc., we moved from about 62 down to about 44. And last year, we were in the vicinity of about 33 million TT dollars. Part of the reason for last year being a lot less than the prior years is that the field as an organization is going through its strategic realignment. You've got to do that. You spoke earlier in your first hour about having a plan, about having a strategic framework, about having key performance indicators, about measurement, right? And so that's what we have been doing part of last year into this year in order to set the sail back out and to do as much good work as we can for Trinidad and Tobago during this year and going forward.
You know, it's interesting, Wendell, and I mean your passion really comes through, and it really is infectious. The issue of the messaging and the programming that goes out, and of course that Zuckerberg altered, as you put it, where some and by extension Instagram and those other social media platforms where so many people get their information from, where people are more sometimes on those platforms than regular media, whether it be television or radio. That's where a lot of people are getting their content, and there is so much cynicism, ugliness, the ugly side of Trinidad that turns viral, that goes viral, whether it be school fights, whether it be a fight in a supermarket, murders, and the instantaneousness of seeing a crime scene. All of those things can populate people's people's algorithms depending on what they're watching. Because I often tell friends of mine that, did you see X or did you see Y? Did you see the fight? And I say, no, that doesn't come up in my algorithm because I'm not clicking those things because I don't want to see those things. I'm clicking other things that interest me, which are nothing, things that are uplifting to me because I don't want to deal with that negativity constantly because you have to deal with it at some point in the morning because you're discussing the things and issues of Trinidad and Tobago. And sometimes we try to get to the point of, giving some of the good news. But the larger issue is how do you reprogram a society where so much of that ugliness and cynicism is so attractive to so many, and it's in their hands. It's a mammoth task.
Yes, and we didn't get here overnight.
Nope.
And so we won't get to an improvement overnight, but call it out for what it is. Say it. Do it. Live it. Exhibit it. Tell stories about it. Constantly. Every day. Every opportunity. Every morning. Let's not just have a feel-good moment. A moment to feel good. So if you only feel good for a moment, what happens to you for the 23 hours and 50 or 55 minutes of the day? You don't feel good? Quite interesting, right? All right. So we all have to do our part. And by all means, let me be fair. We have a responsibility to the nation's future to demonstrate on an ongoing basis goodness, kindness and sincerity to all. The treatment of our fellow man, our fellow
Well, I
woman.
could take it a step further, Wendell. Is that what
Yes.
the population, and particularly children, are seeing from our leaders?
Well, so there you go. If by chance the only
And,
example that we
and leaders are not only government, eh? Let me put it
right
that way.
there you
So
go.
then when I say leaders, people, oh my God, the government. No, leaders are not only government. They're leaders in the government, they're leaders in the opposition, they're leaders in the religious bodies, they're leaders in the education sector, they're leaders in business. There are several different dimensions of leadership in the country. They're leaders in
absolutely
families.
absolutely correct. And so as a result, there is incumbent upon each of us, whether we think we're the leader of of the pet that we have in our house, because that's what we have around us, or the leader of a family unit, even if it's a single parent family unit, you still have to lead. You're taught how to lead on a daily basis. Even a group of children leaving the classroom and the teacher says, hold hands, Paul, you lead. You still have to lead. And sometimes you take pride in leading. Those are the qualities, values, and elements that ought to be nurtured and encouraged. And Paul, to your point, and when it is not being demonstrated, which is a media role as well, to raise it to their attention. Some things may have to be done in a public forum in order to raise it to people's attention, but sometimes pull somebody aside and have a chat with them. My entire life has been as a result of persons having good quality conversations with me. They may not be sharing any pearl of wisdom. It might not be something from Confucius or some major thing, but it's just a simple word, an act of encouragement, a mentorship. Now, why are they doing it for me? It's not because Wendell is so unique that we're going to do it just for him. They're doing it for everybody. Anyone who comes into their path, they share words of encouragement, words of inspiration. Your listeners and viewers today require, it's almost incumbent upon you to share with them words of encouragement and improvement in their lives. Now, that does not take away from reporting the facts and stating what's happening in our country so that we are aware, and it's a delicate balance. But let's not kill the country with so much of the problems that there is nothing that we see about what's good in the society. There's good everywhere. And I'm not being
Well,
optimistic.
our media colleagues may have a different perspective and say, well,
Sure.
my mandate is to my shareholders, and if it bleeds, it leads, and I'm not here to sanitize the reality of society. And Dylan Carter winning gold should go on the back page and not the front page, or page 42B, section C, down in the corner, as opposed to what. And I'm not saying you should sanitize the news, but I've seen, and it's a deliberate exercise that North American and European large-scale media houses, none of them report the facts, but they take the opportunities to put on the front page uplifting stories, particularly about sport and culture and the arts, because they understand the daily impact consistent negativity has on the psyche of the country and the image of the country internationally in the digital world.
So as a consequence, then you see what happens to the fabric of a community based on the amount and type and style of content that's shared with them. It's a good lessons class for those who are into communications and media, those who want to manage organizations and programming. Paul, in another
Wendell, they know, Wendell, they know. But at the end of the day, when circulation drops by
Yes.
20% because they put two good news stories, because of a factor, because the one that what catches the public eye passing in the street, 3 murders last night, they're going to grab that faster than Dylan Carter wins gold, because we've been programmed that way. So, and the managing director is going to face the board at the end of the month and say, well, your circulation shot by 30%, you're doing too much good news stories, be out time with that because we're losing money.
Based on your example, and then taking it and seeing it, and so just like the clock, eventually this time will pass, and there will be another element that we want to promote and program. And somewhere in the future, that time will pass, and there'll be another element that we want to promote. Simply that we're also creatures of habit. So we have been accustomed, some of us, to a different way of helping our society to be better, not a media job. I'm not saying that's a be-all and end-all, but everyone has their part to play. Paul, you recall this. The minute that there is something of major disruption in the society, somewhere in the license of broadcasters was an obligation to serve, quote unquote, as a form of national service. In other words, immediately you get into a different type of programming because you have to keep the nation informed about what to do next, and it comes as part of your obligation. Okay.
It's part of the law.
Right. May I ask why? Why?
Because society has to be preserved.
So on a daily basis, society does not need to be preserved? You
Well,
see the argument, right?
You
That
can
only in
make
times
an
of
argument
greatest
about a
need.
national emergency as opposed to daily running of things, and
Yes.
they can be subject to
So
interpretation.
is it that you're saying in terms of the conversation that let's go down the rabbit hole of something that would be highly unlikely, but let's go down the road that for 1 week, all media in Trinidad and Tobago, while reporting the negative stuff, consigns it to page 5, page 7, page 9, whatever, into the newspapers, and only for a week just had good stories and positive stories about Trinidad and Tobago.
Well, it may be a lovely experiment, but let's not do that. It's not an incubator in a theoretical environment in a classroom for a tried and tested to see how the society will appreciate, like it, or respond to it. It's about adding it to the daily diet. Adding it. Rather than
understanding it's just more than part of your corporate social mandate. It's part of your core values as an organization.
There you go. There you
It's
go.
not a symbolic one-off thing. It won't work.
But how are you getting those industry leaders to have that mindset when they are studying the bottom line and circulation figures, and they know that, okay, a murder just took place, XYZ, or some dramatic negative story has just happened? How can you change that unless it's something dramatic?
The minute that there is some form of impact on their staff, and they have to pick up the phone and call Phil to assist in the challenge that is now being experienced by a large group of their organization, it's at that point in time that there's a conversion. It's at that point in time that there is a greater appreciation that it's not about only this type of element or content being advanced, but there is also a requirement. I don't want to say obligation.
Wendell, let me be the devil's advocate here. That depends on corporate culture. Corporate culture might be absolutely impervious to that.
Richard, let's go further. But when your staff member, your number one employee, walks into your office and says, "Boss, I could talk to you for a minute. We have to do something. I need your help." Half of the staff here are in some situation. You see, it's only when the circumstances come home to us, and I use that figuratively for the circumstances that we're in, and remember I started by saying we're a family, do you suddenly realize that maybe I've missed or I have been less aware of certain circumstances that have a direct impact on how I earn my income? That's the reality, because you said it earlier on, we are so busy with the other elements of life that we may not even have the moment to think. And if we do, sometimes it's not within our activity at that point in time or our focus. And I appreciate your idea about creating a moment or a week or a period or a session, but let's do that with our school children. No, let's try that with those who are
all of this presumes that we are all cut from the same moral fabric.
No.
And we have the same and we are not. And there's some people who say, "No, my work is to make money."
Yes.
Anyway, in our final 2 moments, Wendell, let's just reiterate the opportunities for persons to contribute to FEEL in terms of foodstuff and clothing in good condition, and the other areas where persons can participate.
Thank you. I'm sharing a great mix here, and thank you for the opportunity. The website for FEEL, the Foundation for the Enhancement and Enrichment of Life, is feeltt.org. It gives you an opportunity to see all the work that's being done, as well as to link to the pages where you can make direct contributions. There are deeds of covenant, donations of cash via online deposits, opportunities for goods in kind in very good condition to be shared with us, and we assist nonprofit organizations by registering them so that they can assist persons who are affected and negatively impacted in their communities. By receiving goods in kind, we pass them on to persons who are in need. But additionally, we earn our keep, and one of those activities is our annual fundraising charity golf tournament taking place this weekend at Mocha in Maraval. And I only speak of that for the purpose of being able to ensure that those who are captains of industry are aware that some of their teams, etc., are making a contribution to assist FEEL to do the work that it's doing in society by having a day of good camaraderie that assists at the end of the day. I'm conscious of time. It's 7:59 on my computer.
Well, thank you so much, Wendell, for having the conversation with us
That's
this
a
morning.
consummate media person.
It really is a necessary conversation.
You see, Richard, we were trained. We were trained that when you see that top of the hour, there's a guy called the late Hamilton Clement who would give you a stare across the glass doors in NBS radio that why is it 7:59 and I'm not hearing the news team starting, and you would get a memo.
Yeah, that too. That too. May I say a special thanks to Power 102, to the Gillette Group of companies, to Steve for putting everything into coordination. I'm honored and thankful to share time with Richard, who together we produced some dramatic stuff and good videos along with a Canadian colleague who's into the same media stuff that we do. And thankful for Paul, because without him, I would not have been as great an on-air announcer as I turned out to be at the time.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wait, I thought you what not to do. Thanks, Wendell. Keep up the great work. Congratulations again.
Thank you all. Bye.
And before you go, Wendell, the telephone number is 624-7758. That's the numbers to contact FEEL. Their website, an amazing website. I just went up on it there. feeltt.org.
Yes.
All right. Thank you, Wendell, and keep up the great work. It was a pleasure chatting with you again this morning. As you can see from our messages, I have messages on both boards coming through that it's quite uplifting to hear from you this morning and the wonderful work that you spearhead with your many colleagues and all those involved in FEEL TT.
Thank you. Thank you, Steve. Blessings to all your listeners and viewers. Have a safe, a happy Trinidad and Tobago Day. God bless.
Thank you, Mr. Wendell Constantine. Good seeing you. It's been a while.